Hey guys, how you doing? This is Isamu here, and I got, hey, what's up, Paul?
Hey, brother. How you doing? I hope the reception and communication is going well over there. I don't know about this end over here. It's kind of like we'll take it as it goes.
Yeah,
So, how you doing, brother?
we're doing okay. Today is Monday, and we're talking regarding our broadcast here and giving updates of what's happening right now in the world. And hope you guys had a great weekend. What you got, Paul?
Well, a lot of things have been happening, but one of the things both of us, you and I went to a conference this weekend to see a gal by the name of Heidi Baker.
Yeah,
Boy, it was a blessing to go. If you guys ever get a chance to see her, go see her. It's worth
yeah,
it.
definitely, definitely.
And it was a great conference, and really had a wonderful time. One of the things that I got from Heidi Baker was us being more sensitive to the poor around us, and that was really strong. The opening that she had about poor people, and in that she came from a background, she was pretty well off and everything, and she gave it all up so she could help out the poor in Africa. But the Lord showed me, you don't need to go to Africa, Paul. You can see the poor just around in your backyard.
That's right.
If you want to see the poor, you can find them right there. Like a good case in point, there's this older guy today, and I was taking a walk over in Dana Point, and normally I wouldn't. It's not that I'm insensitive to poor. I mean, I love to take care of the poor, especially for Israel, or even what in my walk of life wherever I go. But I'm very sketchy because there's a lot of people that claim that they're poor and they make like a business out of it.
Yeah,
And they just use it as they get a bunch of people together and they have all this money. I guess you got to make it work the best way you can make it work, I guess. But I'm kind of sensitive to where I give my money to. I'm willing to give it to the poor, but I don't want to be used either.
right.
And so there's this one guy today. I looked at him and I kind of checked him out because I've given a lot to people on the streets before, and I still will. I just want to be discerning when I do that, and because it's God's money, and I want to make sure I'm using it in the right way. So I seen this guy, and what kind of got over for me. He looked like a Santa Claus, but he was carrying these two bags, and he was trying to find a way back to San Diego.
Huh.
But what really got me going, he had this huge cross around his neck. It was made out of wood. And it looked like a simple piece of little, that he put together himself. And it wasn't that great or anything, but his spirit was just so kind and so like humble. But he says, would you be able to help me out? And I looked at him first from afar, and Lord kind of just said, just go ahead. And so whenever the Holy Spirit prompts me like that, then I just go ahead and do it. But and then after I did, the Lord says, "Good, well, that's good that you did that, Paul." And I went on my way, and that was it. But I just, the Lord, what I got from the conference is that we got to be more sensitive to the people that are poor around us, but be discerning about what you're giving to people too.
That's right.
You don't want them to go out there and drink themselves to death or something like that, or just hurt themselves. You don't want them to do that. But
Right.
if they really need some help, then it's good for you to do that.
Right.
So maybe we could just lift up all the poor throughout the world right now.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Father, we just lift up all the poor from every corner of the earth, and we ask that you would just touch these people, Lord. That you would provide food, shelter, clothing. Help the poor little children that are on the street that are begging for food, Lord. The people that are in their teens are just, instead of having food and clothing, they're turning to drugs, Lord. They're just forgetting their today problems. So if they take the drugs, they won't remember it. And for those people that are the mother that's taking care of their children that don't have a place to live, Lord, and their husband left or husband died or whatever happened. We ask, Father, that you just that you would help those people, and that you would also, Lord, that you would help the older people that are hurting right now at their homes, and either between medicine or food that they have to pick. And Father, we ask that you just provide everything for them so they don't have to pick. They can have both, Lord. We ask for food in their mouth, clothes on their backs, and a roof over their head.
Yes, Lord.
And also to take care of the medicines that they need. In Jesus' name.
In Jesus' name. Well, moving on, right on See here, we were talking about current earthquakes, but I believe you have something there, Paul, that you wanted to share on that.
Yeah, well, I had an article by it's on Crisis Boom, and I'll just read it to you. A little short one here. What it was is it says move this cursor up. The Ring of Fire is roaring to life, and there will be earthquakes of historic importance on the west coast of the United States. That sounds like in California to me, but it could be Washington, Oregon. Does it seem to you like there's been an unusual amount of seismic activity around the world lately? Well, it isn't just your imagination. The Ring of Fire is roaring to life, and that is really bad news for the west coast of the United States. Approximately 90% of all earthquakes and approximately 75% of all volcanic eruptions occur along the Ring of Fire. Brother, could you show them with that cursor Ring of Fire?
Yes.
And the Ring of Fire is where my brother's going to take you on a little journey right there with that little white cursor. That is the Ring of Fire right there. Considering the fact that the entire west coast of the United States lies along the Ring of Fire, we should be very concerned that the Ring of Fire is becoming more active. And it's like my brother's been showing you lately, he's been showing all kinds of earthquakes that have been going on. Let's see. It says became more active. On Wednesday, the most powerful slip earthquake ever recorded happened along the Ring of Fire. If that earthquake had happened in a major U.S. city along the West Coast, the city would have been entirely destroyed. Scientists tell us that there is nearly 100% certain that the big one will hit California at some point. In recent years, we have seen Japan, Chile, Indonesia, and and New Zealand will get hit by historic earthquakes. It's inevitable that there will be earthquakes of historic importance on the west coast of the United States as well. So far, we've been very fortunate, but that good fortune will not last indefinitely. And so, I just wanted to bring that up because, I mean, I think Heidi Baker last night gave a kind of a prophetic word about about California.
Yes.
And what that had to say, she said that California is not going to sink into the ocean.
Yes.
So she didn't say that there wasn't going to be an earthquake in California.
That's right.
But we wouldn't have to worry about it sinking into the ocean, like a lot of prophets have been saying.
Yes.
I mean, they've been saying it's going to be split, and this is going to happen, this is what's going to happen and stuff. And they got everybody running in a frenzy, And, to me, I mean, I know that the Lord, those things could happen in California, they probably will. But I don't believe it's going to happen like a lot of the prophets think it's going to happen. I think they're a little bit misinformed. And I think the one that Heidi Baker gave the other day was pretty accurate. But she said, she didn't say there wasn't going to be one. She did say that it's not going to sink into the sea.
That's right. That's right.
So what you got?
Oh, I always talk about the earthquake and let you know what's currently happening. This is the map as far as what's happening, and when my brother was talking about the Ring of Fire, it goes from Australia to Japan all the way to United States, so you can see the activity on here. On this new software here, on the 3D version here, you can see the current earthquakes that are happening. And these are all earthquakes between the 5 and the 6. Now, in the 5 and 6, you can tell there's still, I mean, a lot of huge amount of earthquakes. And this is current. This is like now. And as my brother was talking about around the Ring of Fire, here's the United States as far as what's happening here. As you can see from Alaska and Japan and the other parts here, this is on the top part, what's happening here, and I bring it down here as well to show you what's happening here. See now, as you can see, so I can stop it here a bit. United States, you can see there's a lot of activity happening here. Currently, and then I guess the newest ones that are happening right here are the ones that are happening down in this area here. I know we've been having a lot of earthquakes, especially last week we had tons of them, but it seems like there's a lot of them that kind of popped up in Southern California. A lot of small ones like a 1.1 and 2 points so far. A lot of them in the Van Dude area, which is the 4.8, 5.1 earthquakes, and then Northern California, a lot of the 1 point, 2 point earthquakes and stuff. And we do like the 1 points and 2 points earthquake because you know I would say a lot of small earthquakes are better than having no earthquakes at all. So that relieves the pressure there. So as you can see in this chart, you can see uh, um, there's still a lot of 5 point earthquakes happening in Indonesia and different regions right up here in Samarta. There's still a lot of them happening in Greece, that sort of stuff. So you can see all the big ones that are happening right here in Indonesia and right off of here, New Zealand area, right up here, Vandu earthquake. So it seems like there's a lot of activities happening down in this area, which is Indonesia and Australia and um, New Zealand area, right down here. Japan, meanwhile, is quiet today, but then we have some big ones happen here. This is a new one that happened up in Russia, by the way, off of near Siberia, exactly 5 hours ago. Looks like there's a 4.2, close to 5 uh, on the Mongolia. And California is actually pretty quiet. A lot of small ones happening there. However, looking in the Middle East area, seems like it's active again off of Greece and the Ukraine, Romania area. A lot of activities happening there in Turkey, and that's where these big balls are happening right here. Activity that's happening here. And so I don't know if it has to do with solar, and this is a chart as far as the solar activity that is happening right now on the Earth. So I think the solar has a lot to do with it too as well. This is a solar chart, by the way, brother. What's happening from the effect of the earthquake, and you can see all the activity happening there. So there's definitely something happening as well. So gives you an idea as far as the activity and the earth movements and so forth that's happening there. So it's pretty booming there, that's for sure. I know we went to that Heidi Baker thing yesterday, and it was kind of great that she said those who may not know who she is, but she's very prophetic and she listens to the Lord a lot, and I'm glad she said that California is not going to fall in the ocean, but she didn't say there won't be any earthquakes, and as you can see, there's still tons of earthquakes happening. So, and is there something you want to say, brother?
Well, you're touching on that subject, and what comes to mind is I've been saying this before, and I said this to a brother the other day at a church that I attended, and I told him, he's been talking about earthquakes, and he feels in his spirit too that there's a lot of things that are going to be happening in California. But I told him, one thing, all we have to do is just be prepared and not scared.
That's right.
And he said, I like that. That's right. That's all we need to do, just be prepared. So a lot of us are just running around, just trying to do this and trying to do that, but just be prepared in your own way. And whatever that takes, whatever the Lord leads you to do, not because I tell you or Isamu tells you or the guy over there is trying to sell products of last day times, yes, and, getting different things out there. Just whatever the Lord leads you to do. I mean, if you're really seeking God, if you're truly seeking God, how you do that is you just spend time with Him. You spend time, ask Him to speak to you, and if you come to Him and you put Him first in your life, I'd say 9 times out of 10, unless something the Lord doesn't want to tell you, 9 times out of 10, He'll speak to you and He'll let you know. That's right. He wants you to do it. Like He's been telling me this much. I need you to start doing this. So, okay, Lord, and He says, well, don't keep putting it off. Just do it, And that's one thing I noticed about God, brother, If the Lord tells you something and you don't do it, He's not going to tell you again. That's right. He's expecting you to do it. And that's how you get to know God's voice. When He tells you something, do it. Seek Him out and make sure that He's not going to tell you to jump off a bridge or do anything to hurt yourself, but He's going to speak to you and maybe to help out a brother or to use your money for this, or to do whatever, whatever seems like, what's in your power to do.
Right.
He's not going to give you anything that you can't handle. That's one thing good about the Lord. He won't ever do that to you. He'll give you what he knows you can handle. But a lot, one of the things I learned at this seminar, brother, and I'll finish up on this. He says, that as human beings, we use 5% of our brain power. We have 100%. We only use 5%. Did you know how much Einstein used, brother?
How many?
He used 7% of his brain. Now, just think if we were caught up in the spirit and we knew about the spirit realm, how much more we could use of the flesh of our brain. Is that understand? Can you understand? Grab your head around that. That if we use the spirit in our lives to control us, we'd be able to use the rest of the flesh to understand. Because the spirit would say, "This is where you need to get more knowledge in." And so we're only using 5% of our brain, and Einstein only used 7%. What about the rest of that percent that we could be using? What could we do if we used all the rest of that brain power? How would we treat people? How would we take care of gas prices and earthquakes and tornadoes and water and food shortage? If we could just use that brain, part of the rest of that brain that God gave us to use. And I think that my thought is, and I believe that, I'm starting to believe this more and more, the more we get involved with the spirit, the more then our flesh looks to us, and it looks up to the spirit like a big brother and says, "Hey, well, wait for me." And the spirit will says, "Come on, well, come along, let's go. We gotta go. We have to do this. We got to get on our way here." And I think that's what we need to understand too, is that when we're let our spirit control our lives, like it's supposed to, like it was meant to be at the beginning of time, until Adam and Eve blew it. That's the way we would have been. We'd have been using 100% of our brain had they not blown it. And I think we have to understand that. Now we have that chance to do that because Jesus died on the cross, and he's given us that opportunity to do it once again. And how we do that is relying on the Spirit 24/7. You can still be yourself and go to work and do the things you have to do. The only difference is you're going to have the Spirit on you 24/7.
That's right.
I love that. Maybe a lot of people don't agree with me that. You say, "No, it's just, you don't understand. I got to make a living." Well, if that's the way you want to live, go for it. I'd rather depend on the Spirit and let the Spirit guide me instead of my flesh. So that's about it.
That's right. Well, here's a little video explaining a little bit more on the Ring of Fire to let you people know about it.
It started this week when a massive quake hit Indonesia, bringing forth vivid memories of the 2004 disaster that killed 230,000 and had people literally running for high ground.
This earthquake was very scary when we first saw it.
But it was a different kind of quake, one which surprised the experts, one which fortunately did not trigger a large tsunami. Then in Seattle, the NBC King 5 seismic cam recorded a 5.9 quake off the Oregon coast. About the same time, a 6.5 was hitting Mexico.
Oh, these two, the one off Oregon and the one near Mexico.
The two, combined with the Indonesia quake, have many asking the question, is the Pacific Ring of Fire roaring to life?
Right, and it makes us wonder, especially the Mexico and the Oregon ones that are only a minute or two apart, but it's most likely just a coincidence.
But a reminder that the forces that shape the Earth are still at work, especially here on the Ring of Fire.
It's only every 20 or 30 years that things really get shaken up in the Pacific Northwest. But when they do, of course, it's very serious business.
I'm Eric Fisher, the Weather Channel.
Both the Mexican and the Oregon one are places that we regularly have a lot of earthquakes. Those are plate boundaries. So one question is, do we think that the first one made the second and third one happen? If you look around the world, you can see when you have a big earthquake, you have more earthquakes nearby. They're usually called aftershocks. In Indonesia, we're in the middle of the Indian Ocean plate, but near the boundary with these various microplates in Indonesia. Oregon is on the boundary between the Juan de Fuca plate and the Pacific. There are two triggered earthquakes that happened in California, 2.6. that happened as the surface waves from Indonesia were traveling through here. We can see it on our records. You can't feel it because by the time you get this far away, halfway around the world from those earthquakes, all that's left is really long period shaking. It like takes 10 seconds to come up and 10 seconds to go down. But those really long period waves can travel efficiently around the world. And as they came through California, we see two small earthquakes happening in the middle of those waves coming through on the San Jacinto Fault.
Huh, interesting. That person was saying that when you have these earthquakes effects, especially the big ones that happened last week, we had a whole bunch of them, that it triggers all these other ones that come about as well. So, which is kind of interesting because of the plates and stuff.
Hi everybody,
so
this is Sheila Aliens.
I thought it was pretty cool. So.
Well, yeah, we've been talking about this for a while. I mean, just how far does it go underneath the earth for things not to happen and affect other faults?
That's right.
Other faults.
Yeah, definitely.
That just seems logical to me. I mean, it's like when you drop a pebble in a pond.
Yeah.
It's still, and it just reverberates and reverberates and reverberates. And where does it go?
That's right.
What is the effect on the way?
That's right. That's right. One thing for sure, folks out there, is that the earthquakes will not stop. They're going to keep going, and they're going to keep increasing because not because the expert says so, but because the Bible also says so. You know.
That's right.
And you can say no earthquake, things are going to be great or whatever. You can say that and you can claim it or whatever, but the earthquakes are going to keep coming. So.
Do you have a scripture for that, brother? Is that Matthew 28?
Yeah, Matthew. I believe it's Matthew 24.
We've done it so much, we should know it by heart.
We keep talking about it and stuff. But we're definitely in that season. And not just earthquakes. I know over the weekend there've been tons continue on about tornadoes too.
Pretty much devastated the Midwest.
Yeah, Midwest had tons of earthquakes. While we're having earthquakes, they're having major tornadoes and stuff.
You know what they showed? I don't know. I guess we did show this. They showed those water spouts in California.
Yeah,
they've got miniature tornadoes in the sky.
That's right.
They're pretty damaging if they touch ground and they hit the earth.
Oh yeah, definitely.
But I mean, the Lord's talking about signs and wonders. These are signs and wonders. Water spouts in the sky, tornadoes across the Midwest, earthquakes in California and wherever, and the diverse places all over the United States, places that you'd never think there are going to be earthquakes are popping out of nowhere.
People in seven states reported seeing a.
That's right. You're right, brother, on that. In fact, I was talking to somebody yesterday, and they said that there was a tornado or a sprout that came up in San Clemente, which is...
Really?
Yeah, it was this weekend, actually. Not... but they didn't, I mean, it wasn't damaging or anything like that, but that happened, I believe, over the weekend. So... And when you're saying about one in Fresno, I mean, that's California don't normally have these kind of things. So, folks, I mean, you people who live in the Midwest, and just so you know that we don't normally have that kind of stuff here. So, for that to happen, that's pretty bizarre. And I'm sure you people out there, being in the the East Coast and the Midwest, never had earthquakes, stuff like that. So that's pretty bizarre too. So something's happening. Did you want me to share the fireball thing?
Share that. Yeah, this is not too long ago. Was this yesterday or something?
Yeah, actually last night they reported. I guess they saw some. Now, beside the earthquakes and the tornadoes, things in the sky. They've been having sightings of not only UFOs but also meteorites, and here's a little news report regarding that. So.
People in 7 states reported seeing a fireball in the sky last night. They weren't sure exactly what was streaking across the sky there from left to right. Astronomers from the Adler Planetarium confirmed it was a meteor.
This is a very bright meteor. It was brighter than the planet Venus is in the sky, so almost as bright as like a quarter moon. So that's very bright as far as these go.
There's no predicting meteors, but astronomers say April is often a good time for spotting them. They say that's because there's a higher concentration of debris from the asteroid belt at this time of the year. That is bright.
Ooh. So yeah, they said that there was a reported on meteors. Speaking about meteors, just let you know, NASA said that of this month, the 21st of this month, you're going to be able to see meteor shower. I guess they call it the Lynnrid meteor shower, so we can be able to see it real clear. So if you have telescopes, definitely check that out at night, and you'll be able to see tons of them coming up. I'm sure it's going to be on YouTube and everything, so like that. But we'll try to get you on something like there. So that's pretty much it, brother.
Yeah. Well, we just hope that you enjoyed the show, and you keep on sending us your prayer requests. We're still answering them. We're just, whenever you send images, we'll get them back to you as soon as we can. We'll answer them. And if the Lord leads us to give you a word, we'll give you a word. And one thing I want to let you know, my brother and me are like this. We don't just throw out words there just to be generic and tell you words, something to make you feel good, have that warm fuzzy on you to make you feel good that everything's going to be okay. If the Lord doesn't tell us anything, we won't say anything to you. But we also, if there's something good, as long as with the bad, we'll both speak both to you.
Yes.
And if we're going to be real, this thing's called Real Thing Ministries. Isn't that what you'd want?
Yes.
The real thing, not just somebody just giving you generic stuff. And what do you say? Well, what gives you the right to do? Well, because we're real close to God. We're intimate with God. We spend a lot of time with Him. We hear His voice. And how anybody can do that. It's just taking time out to spend time with God, being intimate with Him. And we've done that where, we went through a lot of different teaching through a great church that we have went to and going to, but we've learned a lot through there, and we've learned a lot to hear God's voice. And there's a lot of things that the Holy Spirit has showed us how to do.
Amen.
Through that church that we attended and what we're doing now. So we rely on like I've told you before, we rely on the Holy Spirit 100%.
Amen.
Without the Holy Spirit, we're nothing.
That's right.
We're just the conduit. We're like they're the plastic. Electricity goes through with wires. We're that pipe. And everything that goes through that is from the Lord. It's whatever He flows through.
That's right.
It's not us. Keep doing it. So if we have a word to say to you, we'll say it to you. But if we don't get angry with us because we didn't give you a word. It's because the Lord didn't tell us to. So on that note, we bless you. We bless you. We bless you.